Right, let's get started. Let me get comfortable.
Do your thing. I used to do radio, so do what you need to do.
You got a voice for radio, man. I was gonna say that earlier. I was like, yeah, you definitely, yeah. Glad you joined me on the podcast. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to skew your audio just a little bit so people like my voice better than yours. But I'm
That's
sure you
totally
don't
all right. In a land of FPV, there's only one man who can be as smooth as Mechanicus. It's Milky.
Damn. We gotta. It's hey, listen. You gotta stop it. We have an official FPV voiceover guy now. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Hey, if you need intros done or whatever, I got you.
Solid. Right. Okay. We'll hop into it. So here we are today with Mechanicus FPV joining us all the way from Israel.
Hello.
He's been flying. Hello. Thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. You're taking some time out of your Saturday to join me. So, yeah, very thankful for that. And yeah, we're just looking forward to getting some of your insights and experience on FPV. So just to get started, if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself, how long you've been flying FPV for, and also just what attitudes are like where you are when you fly your drone,
I got you. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, it's absolutely fantastic to be here. I've been a fan for a while, and to be able to do this interaction is a real pleasure and honor. So this is exciting. And yeah, so it's almost been a year and some change to the day, basically, since I've started. This journey has been like no other. From jumping in head first and absorbing everything that I could, drinking in every material, every Joshua Bardwell video that I could, just basically as much as I could, just inserting every part of it into my being. So it's been an incredible year. I absolutely fallen in love with the material, the people, but foremost and for everyone else, I would think it would be the experience itself, being behind the goggles and being in the air. There's nothing like it.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, man. And regarding the atmosphere, it really depends on where you're flying. Israel's pretty strict when it comes to airspace. Technically, our laws are similar to the States, but they are more like guidelines.
Right.
Our airspace officials are called Rata, and they basically set out the guidelines. And so basically law enforcement hasn't caught up yet to be able to penalize you for doing something other than if it was something really specific. And I do have a story about that we can get into later, but
Good.
it's such a niche corner here. So like you're only talking maximum a couple hundred at most of pilots that are FPV pilots in the hobby side here in Israel. So this isn't thousands upon thousands. This is really really niche. So it's very rare. And so when I'm out and about flying, I generally, people are very curious. And of course, Israel being a very tensionous place, when people hear drones, they think, potential attacks or threatening positions. So when they see a pilot like myself, they know that I'm a cool guy, so they're like, "Oh, what's going on? Like, is it military related? Is it personal?" Like, and they start, and Israelis and Jewish people in general were very curious, so we'll ask you everything to, who was your roommate in college. So it's led to some very good conversations. In fact, in one of my personal videos in the beginning, you can see when I'm flying through the lights in the trees, that there's these people standing there talking to me, and the whole video you can see that they're there the whole time, and I had a great conversation with them at the same time concentrating on the stick. So it's been a fun ride, but that's more or less the attitude. Of course you have those people who are like, "No, you can't do this, no," but that's so rare, so it's not even an issue.
Ah, that's really good. That's good to hear. I think it's the general attitude I tend to, and it's worth, because of course in the UK we have the Civil Aviation Authority, and they've just sort of updated the rules now in regards to needing a flight ID for something. I believe if it's the drone is above, if it has a camera at all, or if it's above 100 grams, basically you need an operator ID and a flight ID. And there are loads of rules sort of mixed up in between that. But the gist of it is, as long as there are no complaints, you're okay. You know what I mean? Somebody
I mean,
has
there's
to
the street
complain to the
attitude,
CAA,
like
you know.
nice and low, right? There's the street
Yeah.
attitude, and then there's like the official capacity.
Exactly, exactly. Ah, so that's cool. That's good to hear actually, because I think it's again, it's not the same for everybody. I think we have people. I mean, it's the same for experienced FPV pilots. You know, they'll go into the forest and that's fine, but you know, sometimes they'll want to do some urban flying and their nerves starts to go up because it is a populated area with people. You're not too sure how people are going to react, that sort of thing. So
Hmm.
it's good to know that you've had positive interactions. So that's cool.
For the most part. It's always interesting. Like, I don't know if we want to get into this now, but there was one time I was detained.
Oh boy. It's a good a time as any before we get into the core of the question. So please note if you'd like to tell us more about that.
Yeah, no, not a
Go
problem.
ahead.
It's fantastic experience, let me tell you. So, base, basically, in short, a friend of mine who's also an FPV pilot, his his name is Void FPV, but he's not out there yet. So, you know, keep an eye out, maybe. But
Will do.
cool guy. But basically, he and I went to go see a movie, and we had our drones in the back of the vehicle. We went to go leave, but then he was like, hey, I'm having issues with something, can you check something out? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like, what can we do? We need to update something. Like, so went through settings, and like right there and then in the parking lot, like away from the theater. So, and it was very late at night, so there's no one around. A very long open strip. We we open up the props and take to the edge, and I'm looking at how things are going. And as we're finishing up, a cop pulls by and he's like, whoa, is that FPV? That's amazing. I've always wanted to. So we're talking with him as we're packing up. But just as we're about to put things away, a guy comes up in an undisclosed vehicle, steps out wearing a plate carrier, and he's like, I need to detain you guys for a bit. And I'm like, you know that there's a military base nearby. And it's not just any military base, it's one of the like central and intelligent bases, which completely, of course, to our idiotic minds, completely left. So they're hearing two guys with like North American accents flying around. They're like, what were you doing? Where are you going? So
They're gonna have some questions.
Oh yeah, they're like, can we see the footage? What did you do? Why are you here? And it's like, well, no, we're Israeli, and like it's all good, man. But they detained us for 3 hours, and
3 hours. That's
3 hours.
Oh, Jesus
Well, the
Christ.
funny part is they kept looking over the drone I kept telling him like, I built the thing, and he's like, what do you mean you built it? I'm like, I built it, and he's like, I don't get it. Like, where's the registration number? And I'm like, there is none. I built it. And they're like, but what does that mean?
Where are the parts sourced from? You've got connects in China? Oh, geez. Wow, that's interesting. So in that case, then, do you not have I mean, you would have like an aviation authority, of course, but do you have like a civil aviation authority like in the UK? Because again, I just have my operator and my ID and my fly ID, and when I have been stopped by people. Usually I use this to identify myself, and they tend to go, again, not every police officer knows about it, but it is an official document. It has CAA on it. And I go, oh, okay, this guy, maybe he knows what he's doing. And it makes the conversations and things a little bit smoother. So do you not have like a body or authority that you could register with to say that, you know, you are a pilot and that you do fly?
Certainly, that's what I was saying with Rata, but
Right.
is ICAA or something like that. But basically they're so separate, like they're part of the higher echelon of lawmaking and stuff like that. However, again, because it's so niche and like off to the side, now like again, we're dealing with third party, we're dealing with the military, and they're outside the loop of police jurisdiction and things of that nature, because they can interact and do things that are different. And so to connect the two, it's quite different. However, for drone flying, if you only need a license if you are commercially operating.
Right.
And I'm not a commercial pilot. I don't fly for money. I fly specifically as a enthusiast and hobbyist. And they don't have laws on that yet at the moment. Fingers crossed that they won't touch that. But it's because it hasn't been quite an issue here. Again, it's a really niche population. So
yeah, I think it's one of the statistics I was sort of looking at, either for commercial purposes or hobbyists. People are just going to be expecting more and more drones to be hitting the skies. Certainly in the UK, we're expecting a huge increase in drones. And it's already happening in the States with delivery systems, even by air and by road. They've got autonomous vehicles. So it's interesting to see how hobbyists are going to be impacted by this, because again, it's difficult to separate the hobby from political situations, especially with, I think, the Russian-Ukraine war and that the spotlight that put on the hobby in regards to drones and the tariff, trade wars, bans, the Chinese government stopping drones from leaving. I think
Right.
the and everything else. So it's, for me, it's an interesting hobby to be in, to be honest, for that reason. But it's the only hobby that I've really been in where, you know, the geopolitical state of things, whether it be even local politics, could negatively impact your ability to just go out there and fly. So it's one of the reasons, actually, I think this sort of podcast and having the community that we have and communicating is really important. And it's to create this normality around what we do. You know, it may
Absolutely.
look weird, but, you know, we're not spying on anybody. We're just, you know, enjoying a flight, essentially. I think I'm at home at the moment, and usually what I do is that I'd send my drone out the back of my bathroom door, up over the house, round the front, and then round the back again. Just to
Is
do
this while
test
you're
flights.
like on the throne or off the throne?
Well, I mean, either it's if, you know, if my goggles are there and ready to go, then, you know.
That's pretty amazing. That would be quite a incredible experience. I'll have to try that sometime.
Hey, you know, it's all about this. The great thing about this hobby is that you could just insert a little bit of FPV into your day. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you want to do it on the throne, then I think, you know, yeah, absolutely go for it. But I had it, you know, I think it was testing just a tiny hawk. I just put a 2S on it, a battery on it, and I was doing loops. And
Praise
so
the
I lost
2S.
connection. Praise the 2S, like, seriously. But I got hit by wind and basically just got caught in a tree. And I knew where it was, and I knew that I could, you know, flip it and it'll come down. But I didn't want to do that because it was kind of well, I couldn't see the road below me, and it would be bad to flip a drone into an area that I couldn't see, right?
Yeah.
So I went out, took a walk to just check it out. And there's a guy with his phone kind of like filming the drone, and, you know, and I flip it and it drops and I pick it up and I sort of have a brief conversation with him. And he was very much like, "Why do you have a drone?" And it was almost like
offended by its existence.
yeah, offended by its existence.
Yeah.
For me personally, it was because I'd encountered people who were, you know, flying my drone around, and no one's really asked me that question. And it almost, it wasn't an existential crisis, but it was very much kind of like, why does anybody have anything? I fly them, I race them, I build them. You know what I mean? Like, I almost didn't know how to answer the question.
You should only have one. It almost sounds like a Second Amendment argument, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
absolutely.
but that's that regulation, right? And people have a built-in stigma, or at least nowadays, of when you hear drone, it's immediately coming from a militarized perspective, and
Very true.
the fear. And if it's not that, because you don't know what an FPV drone looks like, you're thinking DJI and you're thinking the Maverick or some system like that. And yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think luckily for myself, it's quite nice. Well, not, yeah, people are super relaxed, to be honest. No one's super precious. No one's ever, people have been more curious to come ask me about it, but I've never been in a spot where it's like, "Oh, you shouldn't fly here," or "We don't want you to fly here," which is nice. And I've flown in some iffy places. So no, that's good. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, there are areas here specifically that are like, you can't fly here, which are like natural reserves. Like, Israel puts a huge bent towards preserving nature and various other like historical places and artifacts and areas. So there are immediate walls of like, don't fly here. And of course, you know, someone like myself have taken the liberties because, one, I'm not too bad of a pilot, but at the same time, like, I'm also trying to be respectful. I'm not trying to smash my drone in the rocks or attack the wildlife. And, you know, but you can appeal for specific permits. But again, they're thinking from a point of a commercially oriented pilot. So to approach those things is very difficult, because it's like, but you're not registered. Who are you? Like, what's going on? You can be have drones for fun. Like, what is this?
Yeah, no, it's very true, and I think it's why you end up with I end up taking like the gorilla whooping mindset, which is just like, just don't ask for permission, just do it, and if anybody is bothered by it, just move on. You know.
Absolutely.
So no, that's really good. I think, yeah, that's that gives me a good feel for sort of your experience flying so far, and especially in Israel. So thanks for sharing that. Before we hop into the questions, you mentioned your flying style is chaos. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, when it came to experimenting, like a lot of pilots, when they jump in, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna start with a whoop," and then they mainly stick with that, and then like, "Oh, I'm a whoop pilot," and then they'll rarely touch any other platforms. Or some people start with 5 inch, or and they're like, "I'm a long distance pilot," or whatever, or I'm freestyle. For me, when I came into the game, I had to learn everything and everything. What is applicable? What can drones do? What are their potentials? How does it actually, all come together? My experience was immediately, here, try this drone, build this, build that. Like, what do you think about that? And it's just a whirlwind of like, oh, okay, I'm doing this now. And so when I brought it into my personal life, my first build was converting a Mobula 8 and turning it into a baseline frame conversion and flying that. And I enjoyed that for so long, but not that much after. I went to 3 inch, and then I built a 5 inch, and then I built a 2 inch and a 4 inch. And now I just finished building a whoop, and now I have a project that's been delayed for a while, but now I have all the pieces, and I'm building a 7 inch, and
Nice.
analog, digital, like I very much like, bring it on, baby. I love it all.
Good. I think that's the way to be. And to be honest, I've been in FPV for a shorter time that you have. And
Really? I would have never have guessed.
yeah, I mean it's but the thing is, it's for me, it's this whole thing, including this podcast and everything else, it's more about experimentation. And
Mm-hmm.
hobbies have always been interesting. Well, they've always been important to me, and that might sound like a silly thing to say, but it's especially with my career, you know what I mean? I wanted to be a musician. That's the kind of the first thing that I zeroed on like a career or something to do. And
Right.
I ended up becoming a sound engineer, you know what I mean? Just because people weren't really into the technical side of things. And I would build my own PCs, and when the sound engineering work started to dry up, or the contracts were a little bit harder to get hold of, I had friends who were like, "Oh, you should go into IT." And eventually I went into IT. And so basically these hobbies of mine have transformed my life in really positive ways. And I've picked up and learned new skills, and it's led to new careers. So
Yeah.
when I meet something or I encounter something like FPV, which is like the electronics and stuff that I learned, some programming and stuff that I also know, had me pick up a soldering iron for the first time in like a decade. And just the problem solving, the building, and the actual flying. I've spent thousands of hours flying virtually. And so when I finally discovered this hobby, it was like literally almost too much. And so it was like, I started off with digital because it was easy to just get a package of something DJI. And then it was
Yeah,
like,
you
oh, let
went
me
with
check out this
DJI?
analog stuff. Yeah, no, I did, because it was
What was
I
your first
wanted
drone?
to. Well, it was the Neo, actually, but this was my thinking, was that I knew that I wanted digital, right? And that
Right.
DJI was gonna
Who
be.
doesn't, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. But I wanted the nice 4K whatever else. I wanted that as an
For sure.
option, right? And
Absolutely.
so I just picked up the DJI Fly No More kit, and I got the Neo with it and the goggles, and those two things were what I really wanted. And I thought the Neo was good because then I could hand the Neo off to my wife, and then she can low key get into the hobby, and so she's not bored out of a skull whilst I'm out there, flying the other stuff, right?
Smart.
And
Very smart. Did
I
it
think
work?
so. No. I, I think though she might be interested in more RC cars FPV than like flying.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'll probably venture into that part of FPV at some point as well,
Was it
especially with
Spider?
all the skills I've taken up.
It was Spider who did the gorilla drifting. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was very cool, man.
Yeah, you get so did you show your wife? You're like, hey, you kind of like this. What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I think it's like, yeah, because she's into the gaming more. I'm like, okay, fine, and it's winter, but it's when the summer hits, and that's when I'm outside most of the time, flying most of the time. So it's like that's when I it's good to have someone else who's a spotter there with me. But also that's when it, having her be more actively interested in the hobby is would be good. We spend a lot of time outdoors, mostly at nature reserves, but you can't fly. As you sort of mentioned, with the
Do you
it's the
use
same
similar
situation in
restrictions?
Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense. You know what I mean? I'm all for that sort of thing. Not necessarily flying over nature reserves, especially in the UK, around birds, and depending on the type of year, that sort of
Right.
thing.
I
Drones could
would
be really
say
disruptive.
like there are like nature reserves built specifically for birds, like aviation, what aviaries, something like that.
Yeah.
I would totally be like, yeah, don't fly around that because there's the probability that you're gonna actually hit something is like super high. But I mean, like when it comes to like a gorge or something, like yeah, I get the government and nature side of that. Don't want like thousands of drones littering the thing, but like you gotta send it at some point because some of those views are just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no, I mean, personally, I always send it, but it's this sort of thing where it's but that's why I need my wife. I need a pair of eyes, like keeping an eye on
Or at
the
least someone
surroundings.
to talk to, like at some point the
Yeah,
drone just
that too.
do you I know that you fly a lot of tiny whoop, do you have any experience in like 5-inch or other?
Absolutely. So my daily driver is actually it's a 2.5 inch. It's the Oasis Fly 25, and that's just because it's a good balance of quiet and like speedy. You know what I mean? And so
It's a really nice frame. I really like it.
it's an
I've used
amazing frame.
it. A lot of my builds are custom, and on the 4-inch build that I have, I actually stole the side panels from that.
Ah,
I believe I'm a heavy believer in side panels. I really, really highly. It's like there's a mentality behind that. But so yeah, I took those and threw that on the 4-inch frame, and so I highly admire that particular build. So that's cool that that's like your go-to. That's amazing.
yeah. No, it's definitely like I always. Yeah, I always have the batteries charged for it when I go out and I take it with me because again, you get that nice 4K footage and it's just a really good tight drone. But yeah, I always go with the tiny whoops. I have the Synologue 30 V3, which is quite nice. I don't know if it's 30. I think it's 3-inch and not 3.5. That's kind of my go-to for when I want to do more cinema stuff when it's a little bit windier. And I have or actually I had a couple of Vapor D5s, the 5-inch, but I never flew
Those
those.
are cool.
And they're
Wait,
really good, actually.
They're just sitting there, or like, what do you mean you never flew them? Like they're there, or like what's going on?
No, I got rid of them. I sold them on because again I never flew them because it was just the for the extra power, the extra torque, the extra weight, the extra noise. I wasn't getting a lot out of it compared to my OSFI 25, and it wasn't that it the 25 the 2.5 inch can do the same things. It was just that my use cases just didn't require like a 5-inch. So I might pick up a 5-inch if I go to the Lake District or to the Peak District and I really want to hit those mountains, then I'll take a 5-inch. But
what are you
even
using
then,
battery wise, like if you're attempting that? Because like I know there's not necessarily debate, but just like a lot of schools of thought regarding between lipo and lithium and what they offer. So when you're doing that, like what are you throwing in the bag?
it's always a lipo, but it's mostly down to like I haven't it's just one, it's what's more readily available, and because of that, it's what I know best. And you know what I mean? When I see that that first flash of a battery warning or something like that, I have a good feel for like how much time I have left or when I should turn around. And so
A true pilot's instinct.
oh yes, no, absolutely. Especially when it's a drone you care about, because sometimes I send the little whoops and I'm like, sometimes I have such a good time flying and I've captured the footage is just so good. I'm like, if I lose the drone, fuck it. But
It's in the DVR. I got it. It's in the
yeah,
can.
exactly. But for these digital boys, with that onboard recording, and they're also just so much more expensive. They're like, nah, you gotta get that drone back in, man. Absolutely. It's been really good so far. We're almost at 30 minutes, which is amazing. So let's actually get into these questions.
Bring it.
So we'll start just with what moment did FPV sort of like click for you? At what point did you decide like this is the thing that I want to do?
I would have to say it was the first time that I got behind the goggles and like feel the sticks and actually put a drone in the air. The training that I had to do prior and the number of hours that I had to dedicate to the sim, like I knew it would be a journey, but to see that there was that beautiful one-to-one correlation between effort in sim and experience on the sticks, and to say, oh my gosh, I'm not delusional, I can do this. And what a rush. And the feeling of this is happening in real life, and all the culmination of everything that I'd done prior leading up to this, and the ability, like, I can do a power loop. I can do what I do in the sim. I'm just much more nervous now because it's real life and that's a lot of money. But everything, as soon as I took to the skies and felt that rush of like, here's a dive from, 50 meters going down, it was so exhilarating. I was like, this is it. It settled something deep in my soul.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and I think you touched on something really interesting there, and it's the gap between the simulator and doing it in real life, and that's something that's really unique to this hobby for me.
Yeah.
And the ability to again get the same pocket controller, plug it into a simulator practice, and get the same controller, and yeah, as you say, do those power loops. I think it's something unique and interesting about this hobby that I feel like needs highlighting.
100%. And like a lot of people are really terrified to even start. I started on a freaking Xbox controller. Like that's how crazy that is. And that conversion over to when I finally ordered the Zorro and it came in, and then to be able to work with that, and then the shift wasn't that much like work, quote unquote, to work out to the finger movements, because I'm a pincher. I'm gonna admit that, I pinch.
Oh, yeah. It's all right.
Yeah, man. I got the pinch pride. And so from Xbox controller and sim to actual controller and sim to actually flying, the transition between all that is so doable. It's so doable. And you do have to put some time in the sim. You really do. Like, I think a lot of us, we've been chatting about this in the ether of Instagram, but when people are like, oh, I fly drones all the time, can I fly yours? You're like, hell no, step away. Go. How much hours do you have in the sim? And it's never enough. You're not touching my stuff.
Nah, exactly. Solid. No, that's really good. In that case then, with FPV, you've obviously been on the journey, and it's been a relatively short amount of time. How would you say that FPV has changed the way that you see the world, or the way that you see yourself?
Well, it's been fully incorporated in my life as someone who started from a really non-consumer oriented entry into the hobby, and to really have had those skills from building and configuring to actually flying, have those skills hammered into me. It's what I want to do. So I'm doing things in my life to further those goals and to work with drones on a much higher and more professional level. So I will always do this as a personal hobby, but this is something that I want to really do. And I have really high dreams for these and expectations for myself to fulfill in order to make this happen. So things are already moving on and behind the scenes, and I'm really excited. I have plans for building stuff, and even stuff for the consumer level that I think people are going to really like, because I've noticed on technological stuff, I'm like, yeah, I could see me building something that like would do A, B, and C. So it's exciting, and it really has like changed everything. Like, I think a lot of people do it as a hobby and do their day to day, and I think that's great, and I think they should be 100% do your day job. Don't just don't lose money, like the hobby enough is freaking expensive, but when it comes to it, like for me, this is absolutely life-changing.
Yeah. No, that's I agree with that, and it's a lot the same for me. I think what you've touched on is similar to sort of when I was mentioning earlier my hobbies and how this sort of turned into careers. And
Exactly.
when I started off sound engineering, and it was fine. But my first IT contract was actually at a record company where I would replace the IT manager, right? And so it created this kind of Venn diagram. There's the overlap of IT and sound, and I'd studied music business and worked in the music business, and so doing the IT at that place kind of made sense. And sort of similar Venn diagrams between my hobbies and work, and sort of little niches basically have kind of popped up over the years. And so I'm hoping that I don't know where this whole FPV or drone thing is going to go, but I'm hoping that eventually maybe there's this Venn diagram where, or this niche where, my IT consultancy experience and sound experience, production and drones, they all fit into one.
They'll overlap for sure. There's
Yeah.
no way that you would transition into having this without it having, especially with the patterns going on in your life, that this wouldn't lead to somewhere specific. So, hey man, I mean,
Fingers crossed.
you're the type of guy I can tell who, keeps his options open, who assesses the situation, and be like, oh, I can definitely move up to this next level. It's always on the up and up, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's about challenging yourself and your environment in a lot of ways. Sometimes drones are coming. People got to know drones are coming. We gotta introduce drones to the people to make sure they don't have this, oh, drones are only for war type of attitude, and sometimes it just starts with hearts and minds, right? And then,
Yeah.
maybe there's a career in it after that.
There's so many options. The more you think about it, it's not death and destruction. It can also be used to save lives. I've seen drones in operation in many capacities, and it's always astounded me how creative and how amazing the people are, especially the pilots behind it, when they're doing stuff like from delivery and emergency responses to sending out both overwatch and also to drop off supplies, medical supplies or food or whatever. Like, there's so many things out there. It's like a lot of people have a hard time embracing it, but I think shows like this is what brings it all to a front,
Yeah, no, absolutely. You reminded me actually of just a video of, because again, I you didn't realize how big some of these drones get, even these DJI drones,
Yeah.
So there was a farmer basically just fishing this person out of a roaring river using a drone. I was like, wow, of course.
I saw that video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, good stuff. Do you have any sort of pre-flight rituals, anything that you do to either calm yourself down or to get ready for that big flight?
I'm a checklist guy, and I have a big mental checklist that I go through, and it's almost OCD. Like, I'm touching everything. Like, all right, bags here, equipment's here, all my batteries are here at reach, especially because I know that I'm going under the goggles, that I'm not going to see any of that stuff. So making sure that I have things that I need at the ready on me. I often wear a buff, so I'm making sure, as first and foremost, I'm checking my surroundings. Before I go under the goggles, I'm looking around me, looking who's around and what's not around, making sure that I either have a safe environment to take off, whether that's I'm flying with friends or not. And then as soon as I feel confident enough, I put the goggles on and make sure I have good connection. I'm going into the menu to making sure that, because I'm all about the optics. If my camera quality is, going to be iffy, I'm going to have an issue. Like, even if it's analog, I want at least some crisp patches coming in between the static lines. So I'm going into the menu, making sure that the camera's at the optimal, ranges for the type of time of day. And then it's, grabbing my controller, a deep breath out, and I've already thought about the flight lines. Or the first pack is to explore the place, okay, what's going on, where we go, and then from there. So depends on before or after, if it's the first pack or after. Breathe out and push off and see where we go, and just experience it to feel it,
Ah, solid. Ah, that's good. And so, go on.
Do you have
sorry.
a particular thing yourself? Do you rub your fingers, throw some milk on the ground? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I gotta have some milk to hand, obviously, just to keep myself hydrated, An unhydrated pilot is a bad pilot, that's just how I feel.
Yeah. Gotta get that lactose.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For me, no, I mean, it's just, the thing about it is, it's always, because I hit the same spots a lot of the time, it becomes very kind of I'm very just, oh, I can sit at this bench and no one will bother me. And, people, probably the same people in the neighborhood are used to seeing me, and I know that that's a thing. So it's not something that I consider too much, but it's when I'm in new environments, or when I might be being a little naughty, if it's more crowded than it usually is, that's when it's take a deep breath, feel, get a good feel for it. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's if I know I'm going out to fly in new environments, I would actually try to find a sort of location or a similar situation in the simulator that kind of aligns with that. You know what I mean? As much as possible, just so I get some stick time before I go out there to fly, and just to make me more comfortable with the idea of what it is that I'm going to do.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, no, it's good. But besides that, the one thing I've really learned, and it's that is more ritual. It's the checks that I do on the drones after a crash. You know, and I think the first drone I got was a Mobula 704, which it's a terrible drone. I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend it. It's fine if you want to do like slow cinema cruising, but it's still not, you know. Yeah, I'll go to it's not fantastic for a lot of the stuff that I want to do anyway. But I was just flying it around the house. It's 2S, which again, why as a beginner, don't try to fly a 2S drone indoors. But I was trying to do it anyway. I crashed it and I lost the antenna, you know, and I didn't realize that I'd lost the antenna on the VTX. So I go to fly outside, and the quality and everything is just absolutely trash. You know what I mean? I'm like, these digital systems sucks. What is this? You know what I mean? And it's only I convinced myself that I lost it when I crashed the drone outside, but I came back in and found the antenna, and I was like, oh my god. And of course, that sort of thing happens to you. Typically, it fries your VTX antenna it fries the VTX itself because you've turned it on without an antenna. It's going to overheat, right? In this case, I was lucky because I guess they updated the firmware and the O4 Lite units that if it basically it just stayed in low power mode. Without the antenna, it seemed to just stay in low power mode, and because it was in low power mode, it didn't completely fry, and it was completely fine thereafter. But since sort of potentially learning a lesson the hard way, yeah, I've always, whenever I crash the drone, I check it over. Is the antenna still there? Is the motor still there? Is the prop still there? You know, like everything. Because otherwise, I've gone
antenna,
to fly
prop,
off the
motor, connector, bottom screws, and then connectors to the boards themselves. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's probably the most ritual thing that I do.
You don't rub your sticks. You don't give it a little rub. You know, good luck.
Well, it's why I have the Woot Prophet prayer on my I have it on my TX15 Max, you know, to send his faith, to crash his right, to rise again his endless sight.
Wait, so like when you press arm, that's your the audio that kicks out?
No, I have the audio and switches. For arm, I think it's Send It Eternal is the arm, you know, so it's kind of like
that's amazing. I love that.
I'm going to show you now, actually, because it's
yeah,
because it's you know, it's just something that like it's something that's so silly, but I was just like, so if I pull arm, it's just, hold on, I don't know if it'll be loud enough.
Okay.
So that's just the, you know, Send It Eternal.
Amen.
And then yeah, right. So
I love it. I mean, with my Mechanicus theme, my when I turn on my drone, it just says, "For the machine is immortal." Yeah,
nice.
You want? Let's see if we got that. Hold on,
Do it.
Hold on, and
check your throttle. We don't want any.
and the GLaDOS voice.
GLaDOS voice is actually really good. It's actually it's really good. I think if I ever get a blue version of this, it'll be GLaDOS. Oh, that's so good. But what is it?
Yeah.
Will we send again? What? To send his faith, to crash his right,
Amen.
To rise again his endless flight, and then Send It Eternal.
Wow, I'm already crossing myself. That's amazing.
So yeah, that's kind of that's probably, as far as which it's so ritual at this point that, you know, I didn't even think of it. But yeah, no, that's that's probably the go-to.
The Radio Master sticky gimbal sticks. So I'm very tactile. I love feeling those. So when I get them, I'm making sure they're tight, but that part is part of the, you know, swerving to the righty tighty lefty loosey, you know, just kind of feeling it, and then, you know, giving it a little squeeze before the, you know, full throttle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's interesting. No, that's good.
Rituals, man. It's what humanity is all about.
It's how we learned. It's how we pass down our information down to generations. You know what I mean? It'll be, you know, Send It Eternal. If I have a child, the first words are going to be Send It Eternal, you know, so. Amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
So with that said, how do you decide? Because we're talking about rituals. We talk about inspecting the drones after a crash. So like, how do you decide like when a send is worth the risk? With professional pilots, they get paid to do it. You know what I mean? They send it through the mud, the dirt, the
Depends how much
skies.
money is involved, right?
Right.
No.
But for us hobbyists, yeah, how do you decide that the send is worth it?
I think for me, like I'm not a gorilla whooper. Like the most gorilla whoopy I got was my 3-inch dancing around the crane mid city. And but that's because it called to me, and I think that's a part of it. I think legitimately, I think certain locations say, hey, there's a line here for you, and you just like, especially when you see something that you're like, that would be amazing to fly around, like that's a I'm gonna send it moment. Like, and if you have the equipment on you, that's what you do, right? So sometimes I'll pre-scout a location, or whether that's through Google Earth or through just the pass by, and be like, okay. And then if I'm in the area, I'll be like, that's a pretty solid. I'll be watching around, looking around, but most part I'm pretty subtle. Like, I try not to be too much of an interference. Again, I'm not a gorilla whooper. There's definitely places now that I have my whoop, I'm going to. But in the meantime, my locations and things have been very nonchalant, very subtle. Like, I try to make sure that there's not a lot of people around, and that the weather is good enough, that I'm using the right drones depending on the time of day. But sometimes I just want to get it out there. Like, some areas I've definitely made mistakes where I've sent it and the wind was like, nah. I was like, oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, lesson well received. But I think to send it is you just got to do it sometimes. But in general, I try to be smart about it, and I try to explore or feel what's around. There's certain locations that I look at, I'm like, yes. Like one of my latest videos with my little experiment with my 2-inch Analogue, there's a bike bridge that goes over a train station, and that thing has so many little interesting nooks and crannies in it, and especially for such a tiny drone, I'm like, yes, this is here. And so when I finished work, I got off, sat on the bench, and was like, let's go. And so I had some amazing moments from that. And so I think that's part of the question there. Yeah, does that feel answered?
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I think what's also interests me is that you mentioned potentially picking the right drone, or the time of day, whether it's sort of day and night. So I'd like you to just expand more on that, because for me, I've strictly flown, with the exception of maybe the fireworks video, I've strictly flown daytime. So what has been like your nighttime send experience? Are the risks different at nighttime? Yeah, just sort of share your experiences on Insight there, really.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm a walk snail pilot. So shout out to Canix. Hey man.
Nice.
So my first, again, that Mobula 8 was a Walksnail 1S Mini, and Cadix actually has great little cameras for both night and day. They have settings in the interface, in the goggles, where you can set it between night and day, which gets your sensitivity really different, and you can play with some of the exposure settings and stuff like that, so you can really drink it in. Not every camera is amazing. Like the 1S is really good for day, and even at night it's decent, but it's not like the Moonlight where, you set that to night and all of a sudden you can just see, and it's like, whoa, I can fly. It's an incredible experience. It's totally mind blowing. But when I was flying my 1S, the little guy, like, I have a park that is right below my apartment that I go and sit and fly. And a lot of my first videos are me flying through that park. And so through the day is one thing, because you can clearly see everything. At night, I have this video where the ending shot is me smashing dead into a midnight blue rail, because it was past midnight and you can't see midnight blue after midnight, and I totally broke the VTX. So it's like
that's brutal.
That's what happens, like you're gonna. I love it. Like, I think someone should make a video where they like deadpan look into the screen, and they're just like, so you're gonna fly FPV, huh? You're gonna crash. You're gonna crash. And it just gets more manic. You're gonna crash. And then eventually fades to black. But like, that's the reality of it, like. And so I try and choose my drones. Basically, like, I read about the cameras, and when I build the drone, I look at all the interfaces where I can okay, what options did the camera have? Can I play with it between night and day? I'll check out the settings in dark room, full dark with some light, see what kind of visual I'm going to get and be like, okay, cool. I will use this information to when I found a spot and I know what kind of drone I'd like to fly in it. And this is the kind of visuals I'm going to get.
Yeah, cool. No, that's really interesting, actually. I think it's that's the one sort of uncharted territory for me is that sort of nighttime flying. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Do it. This is why every one of my drones have LEDs on them, because it looks sick and it's an amazing experience, especially when you're flying with your friends and they have LEDs on theirs and you're chasing each other, and then you look at the footage afterwards and you're like, Star Wars, let's go.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Cool. I could dig it. Good man. And so with that, then you've mentioned, sending at night, sending with your friends, and LEDs, and all of that stuff. What does sending mean to you?
Sending, it's something more than just flying. It's about reaching out. It's about attempting beyond yourself. I think to send, the mentality of I'm going to send it is a personal edict and challenge to yourself that I'm going to push my limits, even if it's just a little bit, to fly better than my previous pack or past my last time I flew. Like, I want to send. I'm all about the Japanese philosophy of Shinzen-bi, which is Shin is truth. So truth and understanding what you do, what you're performing, what are the principles at hand, both, philosophically, but also like at hand, like the mechanics, what you're doing. Like, are you knowledgeable? Do you possess the truth of what you're doing? And then Zen is this. So on a philosophical and like moralistic, Zen is the good, the greater, not the greater good, but it's in essence like Buddhist philosophy of like lessening the suffering of those around you and also for yourself. But the idea of that when people look at it, they'll know that like you have dedication, that you are doing something with proper intent. Like, again, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm trying to fly to create something beautiful, which is B. B is beautiful. It's about beauty. Like, from a Oriental point of view, beauty is not necessarily something you go, it's about the work and the dedication behind it that show that when everybody looks at it, that they know that it is, I wouldn't say virtuous, but they would know that there is something that they can't put down, that they can be like, there is something behind it, and I recognize that. And so when you send it, that's what it's about for me. Putting it in the sky, making sure that, you're experiencing something. Like, I don't want to ever fly FPV and feel dead about it. Every time I've put a drone in the sky, even if it was for particular purposes, like every time I've done it, it's always felt amazing to me because it is an extension of your consciousness in a very esoteric kind of sense. Like every pilot does an orbit around themselves. Why is that? There's an essence of my experiences happening through this plane of view, through the eye of this drone. But that is you. It's a part of you, and you're experiencing, you're exploring, you're going out there, and it's as like hyper esoterical as it sounds. Like, the reality is you are going out there when you're in that drone. Like, you are in it. Your eye is going to many places that you want to explore, and so I want to keep my inner child alive. I want to be curious, be explorative, be adventurous. I want to feel, like when I watch Vegan's videos when he's diving down in New York, like that exhilarates me because it's like, that's what I want to do. I want to do stuff like that. When I fly, I want to do things that make me feel like I'm chasing that. So in some essence, it's not perfection, but there's an element of adventure and the response to adventure in that. So that's what sending is for me.
Wow. No, that's incredible. That's amazing. You've said so much there. I think I agree with all of it, obviously. But what was that term?
You don't have to.
I know that. But no, what was that term? Shinzen-bi.
Often Shinzen-bi. The three, you'll find it generally talked about in archery, Kyoto in Japanese archery. That's where those principles are generally grouped.
That's really interesting. So I hadn't encountered that before, but I had, I mean, I've done a fair share of reading about sort of Japanese culture and as well as philosophy, but mostly it's through the lens of have you heard of Musashi Miyamoto?
Oh yeah, for the Book of Five Rings.
Yeah, the book Goro no Sho, right? The Book of Five
Yeah,
Rings.
yeah.
So it's one of my favorite books, and I recommend that
It's a
everybody
great book.
reads it. And
Everybody read it now. Stop the podcast.
yeah,
Listen.
exactly. Read that book, and it's why I love that book is because there doesn't really seem to be a line between the philosophy of being a samurai and the practical advice that he gives you. So he will be really philosophical and talk about the way of the samurai being the same as the way of the carpenter or the way of the calligraphist, whatever else, and he'll talk about that, but he'll also give you really specific advice, like when you first start to learn sword fighting, you should learn ambidextrous so you can fight with both hands. Or if you're fighting in a crowd, it's good to have a long sword and a short sword because you could use the short sword to take a hostage and the long sword to. And it's just this balance between really philosophical, mindful, attention to the craft as well as practical advice of the craft. I feel like yeah, you just sort of reminded me of that as you were talking about.
Yeah. Well, the principle is there. The blade is an extension of yourself. The drone is an extension of yourself. These are mutual concepts that are deeply correlated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Nah, it's solid. I like it. No, it's good.
Thank you. I'll be here for the rest of the podcast.
Good. Before we move into the next section of the podcast, I'd just like to have a look at a couple of videos that you sent forward to review. Because I like doing these podcasts, but it's also good to get a feel for your tastes and what you enjoy of the community. It's from FPV Punk, who's one of my favorites. What do you like so much about this video, this creator in particular?
Yeah, Punk, aka Yannick, is such an incredible pilot, and I think he's been flying for a while now. That I think he's come into his own in a significant manner, and so when I watch him fly, I totally am inspired. He picks beautiful lines, he picks beautiful locations, and specifically this cathedral, like as he's flying around, he's exploring places that I want to fly. Like if I was doing it, these would be very similar lines, the flying buttresses on the side. He goes through them. Like it's such a satisfying video, but it's also done really in a beautiful manner. Like it's really fun, but at the same time, he always does these incredible narrations that are both usually really funny and also really deep. And it's this really sharp balance between high comedy and deep philosophical meanderings, which I'm all about. And so I always get excited when he's posting stuff, but this flight in particular really touched me. And he's already really talented, and you could be doing so much, but something I really appreciate about the video is that he's taking his time to drink in the view. There's something beautiful and he's exploring it, and you can see that he's really going after it. And it's not just about, hey, I can do these tricks. And I think it's great when a lot of pilots are really skilled. Like it's very inspiring, but at the same time, there is a respect for the place, where you're not going so out of your way that you might potentially be too risky and lose your drone, on the spear of a statue that's way up there. That's be hilarious, but at the same time, there's a reverence, and it's absolutely inspiring, and it's again one of my favorite videos of his, if not the most favorite.
Yeah, no, I'd say that it's this type of content. I mean, this is the great thing I love about FPV. It's a unique perspective. It's the pilot sharing their perspective, and it's also the pilot sharing their environment. And so when you pair that with his narration, you get this really quite interpersonal thing that's tied into this hobby and the flying, and you can understand the skill and the lines and everything else. But yeah, it comes together to just form something that's really kind of tasty and unique. And I feel like the communities are embracing it more. I think we're seeing, I'm surprised he's not more popular, but we're seeing more and more narration for, I think Jay Noma and RVD started the first pack challenge where narration was a really big part of that, and we're seeing more and more people sort of do it and take it on, and I feel like it's it's an integral part of the hobby for me, and what I enjoy about it to hear from these pilots as they're doing it, and I think that's amazing.
Agreed. I think in particular when a pilot is expressive of their schools of thoughts, their attack strategies of how they approach their flying, I always appreciate it. So it's whenever we get a peek into the mind of any pilot, it's really an incredible experience.
Right. Good stuff. So, I've accidentally clicked on the next video, but that works out fine.
Super.
So
right,
this is another
T-Rex.
one you shared. Yeah. So yeah, just tell me about this one and why you sort of enjoyed it so much.
This is T-Rex taking the opportunity, sitting in his hotel room, and sent it. And right out his window is this beautiful like Florentine sculpture with a halo that just says, "Hey, I bet you can't," and he just does, and it's so epic, and he does it over and over and over. But like, it's just, first of all, this showing you Analogue being really gorgeous footage, and I think the vividness of it is what really struck me. You have a beautiful subject that you're flying around, and that's where it's like, it's fun interaction, because again, it's a whoop. It's not going to actually hurt the damn thing, but at the same time, you're interacting with history and beauty, and like, we all know T-Rex, he just everywhere he goes is just like, now he's in Africa, now he's in Asia, now so it's always exciting to see where he's going to pop up. But this one, I was just like, yeah, like that's what I would want to do. So again, like a similar excitement and enjoyable like lines of the pilots their scenes. So yeah,
no, I definitely agree. And again, it's how else could you achieve this if not with a tiny whoop, and that's what I think about a lot of the time. And it's why, like, it blows my mind that they're just this medium, that A, more people aren't doing it, and B, it's not more of a thing that people get excited about. So my twin sister's getting married, and I was like, oh my god, I could fly the drone, you know what I mean? And I have this excitement about it because I'm seeing everything that's gonna happen. I'm seeing all the gaps before they exist. You know what I mean? and like, her response was like, oh, ask the venue if it's allowed. And to me, it was just so like, which is obviously, it's a good normal response for someone to have, but for me, it's just like, what?
What did you just say?
What are you talking about? I'm talking about flying the whoops at the wedding. You're talking about asking the venue for permission? And it's just it's just one of those things that not everyone, and this is one of the things I want to change, is that, like, to get people to kind of understand this art form, which is essentially what it is, or to expose them to it a little bit more. So, there is a little bit more imagination. Maybe we already have drone shots replacing a lot of helicopter shots, in basic, Hollywood TV, whatever. Let's see what else drones can do in action movies. Let's let them hit gaps that no person could possibly fit through, and not do it through AI or something else. Let's let it have it be an actual feed from this thing. We'll do one more video before we move on.
By all means.
And then let's see, we've done Punk. What's this one? So this one is Holt Blackheath FPV. I'm not too sure if it's playing from the start. I'll refresh it just in case. There we go.
Just an epic location out in the middle. I don't even know where that is, but it's so cool. And like, there's a phrase that I don't believe I've coined per se, but there's something that I love is called creative exploration, in terms of when you are flying, like, the environment and the space will dictate in some manner how you're interactive with your lines, like how are you flying through it. And this guy, I think, uses this location to its full potential. In this video, there is not a line untouched that I was like, oh, I would probably have done that or tried that. No, he just does it. You're like, oh, you want a trippy? You want to go through this really cool gap dive? Do you want to that yaw in beautiful like curve and reverse yaw fly through the tunnel thing, incredible. And so like he's a pilot who like that's the stuff I want to emulate in my freestyle, because look how smooth he is. It's not super janky, it's not hard on the eyes. It's just something that I admired very, very cleanly. And like you get a full sense of like, yeah, this whole area is explored, and I love it.
Yeah, no, it's I'm impressed looking at it. It's just, again, I always think just how much time does it take? Like that's what I always think. How many hours on the sticks do I have to do to get this good? And I always because I've driven. Oh, sorry, hit the mic. I've driven in flown in simulators, and I've driven in simulators, and usually there's a point where it kind of like just clicks, and my hands and my body moves, and what happens on screen is exactly what I want to happen. And that happens in FPV to an extent. When I'm cruising, fine. You know what I mean? When I'm annoying my wife with the drone, fine. But
That video you did was so funny.
I enjoyed it. She not so much. But it's when it comes to the confidence to hit these gaps and to you know what I mean, how many attempts did it take? How much hours in the sim do I have to do? And as you say, it's flawless. The flow is relentless. He's mattied or gone a backwards entry through that thing. And I think earlier he did again trippy into matty, or matty into trippy, and he's just flowing into from one trick to the next. And again, it's a really unique location too. It looks like some ruins somewhere. I don't know where.
I have no idea
it might
where
be
that
your
is.
ends, dude. Somewhere in Bethlehem or something. I don't know.
There's some ancient Crusader ruin. No, the architecture and some of this a little more modern, but these parts that it's built around are really absolutely exquisite. But the thing is, like, and a lot of pilots do this, and I'm sure maybe he has this, but a lot of pilots don't show their crashes and how much work it is behind it. And I think that's a place that seems well explored. And now this might have been his first run, and all praise to him, but the exploration of it speaks to me that like he's been there before, and he has run these lines over and over. And I don't know, Trilly FPV and or the guys she hangs around with, like you can see that when they hit their particular bandos, they're doing particular lines over and over and over again. And there's a bunch of guys in the Slavic side of the universe where they're putting in their time, especially in Germany, like some of those old nuclear reactors. Like you're seeing, if you've watched, like these guys hit those locations over and over, and the props that have been collected there is a whole different story, right? But that's what it's all about. Like I had a friend complain to me. He was like, how do I get this good? And I was like, dude, like what you don't see is that this is an immaculate video, and praise to the pilot, but this is a place that they've crashed over and over and over again. And that's okay, just to get these shots. And eventually, I think we can get to a point where maybe we can pull off a flight like this where we're like, we're in the flow zone or flow state, but it's okay to admit we're humans, and we're not always going to get these shots, and that's all right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like wow. I mean, we gotta have something to aspire to, right? And I think that's the best thing about when I see this stuff. It inspires me, and it, because of
it should.
Yeah, and we all have our own journeys, and I've improved a little bit, and I'm like, if I can improve a little bit from where I was someday, I could do this.
Yeah, I mean, I've had good flights. Like, I'm not an immaculate pilot, and I'm trying to raise the stakes for myself. I want to get really good, and especially like whoop style tricking is incredible. I love watching that side of the world, and that's why I built my whoop most recently. So I'm like, I want to do that, and I know that's going to take a while. But I'm also like, because like when I've flown around that park over and over and over again, and I've crashed over and over and over again. And I've had times where I've done really amazing things. I'm like, whoa. And either the DVR didn't get it or the footage was, but in the end, either make a good video, but in the end, if you crash, and that's all right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Part of the process. No, good stuff. So with those sort of reviews done, and again, thanks for sharing those, because I think it's it's yeah, I like to see what other people are looking at. I don't necessarily have the tap, and it's also just to see what other people's tastes are and what it is that that they enjoy. But I think it's mostly the same. When you're into FPV, you tend to like and enjoy a lot of the same stuff, and it's good to see that actually. So thanks for sharing that, and that we can share it with people as well. So that's awesome.
My absolute pleasure.
So we're gonna go on to the next section of questions.
Let's go.
So straight up, analog versus digital, which and why?
Both. Come at me, brah. it's just it's like digital's caught up almost to analog latency. I mean, some will be like, oh, but like in reality, if you really think about it, like it's getting really, really close. And soon enough, it'll be almost 1-to-1. And it's everybody loves that clear picture, and it's an amazing experience. But analog, you can do so much. There's thermal cameras, IR cameras, digital zoom, and all sorts of other things that you can do with analog that you can't yet have to do with digital. There's certain customizations that you can really get into that digital isn't even come close to. And that's okay. And so embrace them both, I say. Embrace them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's I think we're having a conversation about this sometime earlier this week, possibly the week before that, but it's about using the right tool for the job, right? You know what I mean? And I think, digital is going to be better suited to some things, and analog is going to be better suited to others. So no, that makes sense.
I encourage, like, when I got into my journey, I was blessed to start in digital, but I think there's an attitude sometimes around it where a lot of people put on that pressure or are misguided. We're like, oh, I don't want to do analog. It's so messy. And it's like, well, there's a lot of good things that you can do, and you can get a good analog feed, and it can look beautiful. And a lot of people are also, shy about their wallets. And it's like, hey, if you want to get into it, go analog. Don't hurt yourself by thinking you need to sync and lock yourself into DJI when there are tons of options. And if you do your studies enough, there's enough where you can do dual systems and have modules for digital or modules for analog. So you can do a lot of stuff, and you don't have to lock yourself in and be like, oh, if I do analog, I'm only going to do analog. It's like, that's not how that works. Like, there's so much to this world.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think it's definitely the mistake that a lot of new beginners make, and it's the trap you fall into is you learn about FPV, you go to look at a lot of the reviewers, and more likely than not, reviewers tend to do both. They do analog and digital, but more likely than not, it's going to be a digital product that they sort of review. It's going to be a DJI 04 something. And that, people are like, oh, I want to get that. I want to get the Power 20 Pro or whatever else. And it's like, okay, you can spend, on the goggles N3 or goggles 3, God forbid, and get yourself a controller. The DJI controllers are overpriced and crappy anyway. And, the drone is gonna perform fine, but ultimately, like, you're not, because it's your first experience with FPV, you're not really gonna be hitting it. You know what I'm saying? And if you are, you're going to be crashing the drone, or if you're going to be trying to do stuff. So it's just, and this is the thing, is the idea, it's not just within FPV, but we want that instant gratification where we can just buy the thing, do the thing, and then get the end product, which is these nice sweeping shots or whatever else. And we do ourselves a huge disservice in that regard to be like, you know what? No, give yourself a year. Give yourself a year. Give yourself 6 months even. Give yourself.
Get on the sim.
Yeah, get on the sim, exactly, and that way when you do
get a
finally
pocket,
get a pocket, absolutely, and once you've put your hours in, once you finally do get that Power 20 Pro, because again, I got all of my gear relatively like within a short period of time because I just wanted to figure out what was it that worked for me. I did the digital stuff. And I had the pocket, and then I flew the Vapor D5s on some farmland, actually. Sent it quite far, ended up seeing some wildlife, some deer for the first time I've seen deer before, but I just wasn't expecting to see deer like so close to where I lived, you know what I mean? So I flew it out, and it was just a bunch of them in the distance, and then 2 sort of closer to me. And yeah, it's like, if I would have missed out on that experience, basically, if I just stuck to, let's say, DJI or just stuck to the Neo.
Yeah.
But also I feel like that's when the hobby is at its best, is when, again, you're prepared, you've done the preparedness, you've done the sim time, your lipos are charged, your batteries are charged, everything is on you, you have it, you're prepared for it. But yeah, the opportunity then comes, and you're lucky, and you get to send and really experience. And it's in those, what's the word that I'm looking for, those impromptu moments, those spontaneous moments. I think those are what really makes the hobby. And I think going to a bando and practicing the same angles and hitting the same tricks and getting something beautiful out of it, that is its own craft. But there's this, but that's for a specific type of person who has put in the work. And I feel like there's this level of FPV that everybody can attain, within, a couple of months of doing it. And it's, enjoying that spontaneity of interacting with your environment and sending it, and, all of that stuff.
Yeah. How much, interesting question to pick your brain with. When someone is starting and they're like, oh, and you suggest the sim, how many hours would you say they should sink into the sim before they go IRL?
It's a difficult question to answer, and that's mostly because, like, your sim time should never really stop.
Correct,
you're always going to be in the sim, and you should really try it out in the sim first. You know what I mean? Whenever tricks or things that I want to try, or racing, because that's the thing. There's so many different facets to FPV, whether you're freestyle racing or cinematic or whatever else. And there's so many different simulators. You can go on Uncrash to chase cars. You can go. There's loads of different. Firehawk is great. It's actually, to be honest,
so good.
peak game, because it also happens to be a roguelike, and I'm obsessed with roguelikes anyway, because you could jump in, do a thing, do a session, do a run, and then you're out. I love roguelikes for that reason.
That's my go-to.
Just, using, it's still stick time. It still counts as stick time.
Exactly, exactly. So enjoyable. Because the Zorro got the momentaries, I set them as my triggers, and I love it. Absolutely love it. It's such a good feeling.
Yeah, so it's so I think, sim time never really stops, but I would say that it's like, and this is the thing, is that there's no one sim that's the answer. You know what I mean? If you're racing, then Velocidrone might be better. Personally, my favorite sim is FPV Logic. I feel like it has the best physics. It also seems to simulate prop wash a lot better than the other simulators, but it's really limited on the amount of drones that are on there, and that's a complaint that some people have, or the amount of maps or tracks.
I started on Liftoff. That's my sim, that's where I started, and I'll go back to it. But as soon as I discovered Firehawk, I was like, this is where I stick my stick time.
Yeah, it's funny because at Liftoff, because I started on Liftoff, because again, for me, it's about experimentation. I have no idea where the hobby's gonna be. I have no idea what I'm gonna like, and I'm gonna make up my own mind. So I'm getting hold of everything, and of course on Steam, you can refund it if it's within 2 weeks and you've played less than 2 hours, right? So
yeah,
I played all of the sims. I happen to keep them all. But I had a really funny reaction with Liftoff, because there was this garden foresty area map that I didn't quite understand. And I'm like, oh, let me fly around this thing. And I didn't really
the campsite.
Get it. Well, this is the funny thing, right? Is that I'm flying around. I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. And kind of move on. And I didn't like Liftoff at first. I thought it was kind of overrated. But then I was watching like a Josh Bardwell video, and I was like, wait, I recognize this place, and it was
the
like,
house. This is his house. Yeah. Same. I got so heavily involved with watching his videos, and then as I'm playing, I for some reason never looked at the level name, and I'm flying. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's his house. Do you know his face is on one of the windows?
Oh no!
Yeah, I won't spoil which one. Go find it. It's funny.
I'll have to do that. And that's the thing. And at this point, I didn't really know who he was. I knew he's this guy who does FPV videos, and he's really useful, so I subscribed. So it was just really funny. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's what it is. So yeah, no, that's interesting. Where are we? I completely lost where we are. Yes. So, have you?
But specifically the question was how many hours would you recommend before a new pilot picks up the sticks IRL?
This is the thing, and not every hour is like equivalent, and it's
Correct.
really tough. So it's like, I'd say of just practicing what you want to do IRL with your drone, I would say. And again, if you're flying tiny whoops, get lift off micro drones or the stuff that has the tiny whoops, etc. Find a sim that aligns, but I'd say doing what you want to do, a minimum of 25 hours. But
that's good.
yeah, you're gonna want to do 50, and you're gonna want to keep coming back to it because you're gonna push yourself. You're gonna want to learn new tricks. You're gonna want to do different things, and different sims are more suited to other things than others. I've found in my experience. So yeah, I'd say a minimum of 25 hours. Once you've done 25 solid hours of doing specifically the thing it is that you want to do. So if you want to cruise around the forest, go ahead and do that and lift off for 25 hours, and then go get your drone or whatever else to do it. Besides that, though, besides the sim, because the sim does a good idea of simulating rates and doing all of those things. But it doesn't necessarily unless there are like 1-for-1 comparisons on what you can buy out there along with your sim time. Before you buy anything, get the pocket, but before you actually buy a drone, definitely reach out to the community and speak to people about what it is you should buy depending on what you want to do, because digital stuff is great, but again, thrust to weight ratio sucks, so it's not going to feel particularly snappy. You may not need something that's snappy if you're not going to freestyle, if you're just going to do cine things. So it's always good to, and not just that, but technology changes really quickly. The whole drone scene has changed, and it's only been
Radically.
It's been a short time since I've been here, so I think it's always good to get updated information and talk to actual pilots before you go out there and do anything. But yeah, 25 hours minimum.
100%. Yeah, I fully back that. I think that's a solid number. I did 20 hours shy of that extra 5 before I took a drone in the air, and I think that extra 5 would have actually boosted my confidence just a little bit more, because that first flight was super shaky and but at the same time it still rocked my world. So I think certain people are going to have an aptitude or not, but the first 3 hours are going to be the hardest always, no matter what, and you just have to stick it through. And you're literally building new neural networks in your mind, pathways, and you just have to be okay with the beginning and don't hate yourself and keep at it, because by the time you get to 25, I think we can say confidently as FPV pilots that okay, great, you now know how to get the drone off the ground, move it around, and put it down. After that, the sky's the limit,
Yeah, no, exactly. On a side note, actually, what I'd recommend for Sims is what's it called? I'm gonna have to look it up on Steam, but it is FPV Skydive. Yeah, so that is actually the sim that I would recommend, and it's because it has pretty good racing scene. It might put you off because it does require, I think it's free, and then it's DLC to money to purchase, like extra DLC, sometimes extra quads and stuff. Yeah, I know it's not great when I say
money.
it. I know, yuck. But I would recommend it because it has a flight school. And recently they added drone soccer as well, actually, if that's something that you're into. I think it's the only FPV sim that has drone soccer at the moment.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's super cool. I wanted to get into drone soccer, and then I realized it's all line of sight, and I was like, maybe not.
That doesn't sound right.
I think it is right, because it's from what I see.
No, I'm not saying that you are incorrect. I'm just saying the concept sounds out. Why would you do FPV drone soccer and have it a line of sight? All praise to guys who have mad LOS skills. We're not worthy, but holy cow.
Yeah, it's a different ball game. But yeah, so
literally.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't realize I made that pun.
Yeah, nicely done.
Thank you. It has a flight school, though. That's the main thing about it, is that it has a flight school.
I don't know.
Skydive.
Did you do the training module in Liftoff?
I didn't, but I think I must have, but I don't remember doing it. I didn't, to be honest.
There is a training. That's how I started. They're like, all right, this is how you go straight. And then you're screaming why you're drifting off to the left. But you will get it. And the training there is pretty satisfactory now that I've actually gone back. That's the cool thing. We were talking about the one-to-one experience and being able to actually see your growth. And after having flown for maybe over 70 hours at that point, I went back and redid the training, and it was I got it. I do it. I can actually do this. It's amazing. It's a cool experience. If you want to feel re-encouraged, do it any training module and pass it and be like, I'm a pilot.
Nice. Yeah. No, I'll have a look at Liftoff, actually, because I'm not too sure. I'm sure I would have done it, but at the same time, I think I might have skipped it. But no, I'll definitely check that out. I'm loving this sort of conversation, by the way, because I feel like I wanted the questions to give just our conversation and our back and forth a little bit more structure. Yeah. But I feel like we've tackled a lot of stuff naturally, so that's really, really great. With that said, have you ever yelled at a tree?
Oh, 100%. My friend got his drone stuck in a tree, and we attached a rope to mine to try and kind of floss it out, and that didn't work. And so what we ended up doing was we flew my drone and I looped the branch, brought the rope down, and we actually snapped the thick limb of the tree to get it down. So that yell was 100% accurate. And furthermore, Heat of the Day Void FPV subsequently got his name because he lost his drone in a 50 square meter radius of like where we were flying, and it was maybe in a tree, maybe not, but in the heat of the day here in Israel, climbing around looking for the damn thing, and it was just gone into the void, hence the name. So yeah, me and trees have a very particular relationship, and I try to be very vigilant in my flying when air around them.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think I was fine with trees, but when I first started flying, it was with the Mobula 704, and so I'd hit a tree, I'd fling it about, and it would come down eventually, right? It wasn't the case with the tinier whoops, and it wasn't the case with the drones that had the larger propellers. And I think the first time I had to properly climb a tree, that was a rude rude wake up call.
Yeah, this tree was not climbable. The one that we had to get my friend's drone out, like it had like a 10-meter pure trunk, and then it splays out. Of all the branches that it got in was like this weird cellular growth of a branch where it just kind of blobbed out, and all these tree branches were bursting off of it, and he got in the middle of it. And the way that he had wired his props, not only were the nuts, like the way that he'd screwed them on and done the way that the rotation, because he was doing inwards, not outwards, tightened the knot, the props and the nuts, and pulled all the branches in around it. Like, and I was like, what? Like when we pulled it out, we were like, holy cow, like how did you do that?
That's hilarious. But I mean, the engineering with the rope though, that's a retrieval for the ages, I think.
I can show you the video later on. You will be like, how did you fly through that? Like it made no sense. There was like the point where they were line of sighting guiding me. We're like, go forward, go back. And I'm in angle mode at this point because I don't want to.
You don't want to lose another drone up there.
Yeah, I'm in angle and they're like move back, and I move back and I hear this meh, and like I'm hit a branch, and I'm like, I'm gonna lose my drone. Like, guys, no, go forward, no back, no to the left, the other left, and you're just like, it was insane.
Oh, that's really cool. That's an interesting story. No, thanks for sharing that actually.
Avec plaisir, monsieur. Yeah.
So with that said, you've had to recover drones from trees, you've crashed, you've flown daytime, nighttime, you've obviously built the large majority of your drones. Have you bought any bind and flyings? All your drones? I mean, perfect.
All my drones. I mean, I did my first drone, I bought the Mobula 8, but I immediately converted it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, that's good. Immediately tinkering. With that said then, actually, if FPV had a rule book, what rule would you add?
Thou shalt build a drone. That every pilot should at least build one drone. In my particular opinion, not that it's a requirement, but in my opinion, I think everyone should to further their understanding of what they're actually working with, as well as to see like, oh, I can actually do this. I can actually understand what pieces are required for the drone and what I need or what I don't want, and it can refine your thought in depth and enrich your knowledge of the craft. And I think there's a bit of pride in it too, because when you fly your drone, you're like, I built that, it flies, it works, and it does everything accordingly to the book, you know. So I think if I was going to add one to the rule book, 100%. Build a drone. No, absolutely. I'd say I would definitely agree with that. I think starting with a bind and fly is a good idea, because I feel like starting with something that works essentially, is a good. You could have a look at it, you could take it apart, you can, you know what I mean? And I think once you have that, definitely you'd want the knowledge to keep it flying anyway, because you're gonna crash, it's gonna break, you're gonna need to replace a motor, whatever else, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, no, absolutely, I'd say that's a good rule and
good general advice for any pilots.
As they say, fear is the mind killer. And if you're worried about ruining your drone because you don't have any ability to fix your drone, you're going to just cause yourself extra anxiety for no reason. And you want to enjoy your flight. So if something happens, you can be like, yeah, that sucks, but I got it.
Yeah, no, exactly. With that then, if FPV was illegal tomorrow, what would you do instead?
There's only one answer, and I would still fly. It's just, that's period. It's,
Absolutely.
I mean, I have many hobbies. I love to scuba dive. I like, hiking and going out there. Like, I could do stuff. Like, I like horseback riding and all that, but like, there's nothing like FPV. Period. And there's something FPV so punk, like it's so parkour, so skateboard, like yeah, you can't tell me where I can't skate, where I can fly. You don't own the air, like, there's a rebelliousness to it that's really beautiful. And I think as part of the hobby, I think it's important that we adopt some of that, because rules and regulations are going to come out, and it will. And I applaud everyone for sticking to the rules and doing their best to follow it.
Absolutely.
But one way or another, some lawyer is going to find you, and you're going to be in, you can't defend yourself because they'll find some angle that you broke the law. And it's like, so if that's going to be the case, like, don't worry about it. Be a conscious flyer. Don't, fuck around with people. You fly consciously, do good stuff, but get out there, send it, and make an enjoyable moment for yourself, because they're something, again, like when you send your consciousness above the regular limit, like 500 meters into the air, and you're like in viewing the horizon of the earth, like it's beautiful. It's undescribable. Like, you can describe it, but I mean, it's just, no.
No, fair enough. That's something I want to experience, actually, because I haven't sent it up that high before. I think I've always stayed up.
Dude, push that battery, try it. And then just dive. And the dive is a float. You don't, it's amazing. Like, you don't fall. You're just gliding down, just drop your motor to 0 and just control yourself to just make sure that you know where you are. Like when you get way up there, especially if you're in like an urban environment, it can be very disorienting to like figure out where you actually are. So just be aware of that. But when you float down, it's an incredible experience.
No, it makes sense. But no, that was funny to me, is when you said parkour, I just imagined, that Office episode where they're yelling parkour. And jumping over stuff.
Yeah.
It was just FPV,
FPV. Exactly. That's what it is. Yeah.
So if your drone had feelings, right? What would it say about you?
It depends on which drone, because I'm pretty sure some of them have brain damage. So I think a lot of them would be pretty, like, I try and treat them very carefully. I try, like, in terms of like taking care of them, maintaining them, but I am also not afraid to like send her out there. Like, I've smashed VTXs, I've broken canopies, I've twisted and snapped props, broken antennas, lost antennas. I've eaten it, both in pocket and in, surplus supplies in my drawer, like, so I'm pretty sure, I think, if we're gonna get really philosophical, coming close, we're gonna get deep and philosophical here. I think the purpose of an item is to fulfill that item's purpose, if you will. Right. So I think my drones would be well and satisfied because they have been sent.
Nice.
Yeah.
I could dig it.
Dig it, man.
That's really cool. No, I can dig it. No, I think so. I asked this question. I haven't even really answered it myself. And the thing is, it's just like, I wouldn't want to know what they'd have to say. They'd probably be like, this guy sucks. But as you say, it depends on the drone. I think if it's the Oasis Fly 25, which is, again, it's my daily, you know what I mean? Unless I'm in a park, but if I'm sending daily, then it's kind of my go-to. That drone has been and seen things and hit gaps that no drone should ever hit. It's probably traumatized. It's faced D-Day compared to some of these other drones, and some of these other ones just need to be flown. I've just finished building this one here, which I'm trying to tested it out for now, but I'm trying to get a DVR onto it so I can have something that's 75 millimeters that I could use the analog DVR on. That'll be really nice if that works out. So that drone will probably ask to be sent. So yeah.
100%. You don't put a DVR for no reason on it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Quick fire round.
Let's go.
So soldering, love or hate?
Love it. I mean, it's especially when you got the big tip. It's so satisfying.
Gotta use the big tips.
Just
Love,
the tip,
I mean,
though.
of course, you know, you don't wanna singe off your pad. You know what I mean? You gotta be safe. You don't need it too hot.
I've had to surgically solder in my motor wires from within a frame, and just sometimes the sheer panic when you realize that smell you're smelling is burning plastic of the frame, and you're going because you're angled just too shallow, and you're hitting the side, and you're like come on.
Oh yes, nah, you're a man after my heart, dude. Like, cause I'm too lazy to take that frame off. Even on the tiny whoops, if I can get it in between, like without singeing the frame, I'll be like, yeah, no, I'm not taking the goddamn motor off. Dude, repairing it on the frame.
If I could, I would, but the Meteor 75 Pro does not have enough space for you to push your motors through on the in-between parts. So it's like, all right, you want me to burn you? I'm going to burn you. Like, so weird.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Right, okay. Indoor or outdoor?
Outdoor. I love it. It's a challenge, especially if wind picks up. It keeps you sharp. And also, there's beautiful views.
Nice. You've got one pack left. You're ripping it or you're cruising?
I mean, by all superstitious pilot standards, you never send the last pack. Are you kidding me? Send it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, let's do it. Do you listen to music whilst flying or is it silence? What's your vibe when you go out there flying?
If it's with friends, I usually keep one earbud open, and it depends if it, of the mood. Like I like chit chatting with my friends, like where are you at, and trying to chase each other. But if it's solo flying or nobody's in a really chit chatty mood, I'm listening to like 80s synthwave gamer chill beats. I'm finding, because that's generally the music I throw on in the background, so I try and keep things in line with what I'm listening to and feel the beats with that. I love flying with music. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you?
I like flying with music, but oddly enough, it's like I went out with a friend of mine and I found that like because he was there with me and I was talking whilst I was flying and also talking him through what I was doing, like my flying just improved. Like I don't know if it was because I was calmer or if
For sure.
maybe the processes in my brain just aligned through having to speak to him about what I'm doing, but everything just kind of like locked in and I was just like, oh, like this feels really good and easy, and it didn't feel like I was multitasking. It felt like it was the type of thing I was supposed to be doing. So it was interesting.
Well, that's what the music and or having friends along is supposed to, chill. It's supposed to be chill. Like when you're more relaxed, the easier, the better you fly.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. So for propellers, do you prefer biblades or tri-blades? Which do you?
I mean, I'm a try 'em all, but tri-blades all the way. Like I've tried five blades. Yeah, I've tried a bunch, all sorts of, just to see how they feel. And tri-blades really are the best balance. But if you really want like cool cruising, hugging the air, like more blades the better. But I'm all about that tri-blade.
So actually, to expand on this, I think you're one of few pilots that I've seen use. I think you have quad blades, and do you have like more than quad blades, 5 blades? Was it on one of your builds that I saw it?
On my 3-inch, when I was first flying it, I was using a really strange blade that I had picked up on Ali, and I particularly enjoyed it. Let me pull up the picture here. A 5-blade prop. And
5 blades, right?
It really is an amazing blade. Like, you really want to feel like because the shape of the blade too also determines how you're cutting into the air and like how steep that propeller pitches, or if it's wide or broad. And these ones give you a really comfortable feeling of like, I am literally hugging the air and I can do what I want. And it's pretty cool. There's some areas it's weak in, but I really enjoy it. I switch those out to because again, I try to keep things thematic. I have some nice bright neon green propellers on the 3-inch now, but yeah, I will try any and all, but tri-blades are amazing.
Oh, that makes sense. I'll have to. I might have to find a 5-blade to see what that's like, because I think I've got 100%. One of my drone has quad blades, but mostly because I've been building for the purpose of racing, it's been either tri-blades or bi-blades. But I kind of want to experience more, especially with the larger drones. But no, that makes sense. I think, yeah, I think you are the only person who I've ever seen use the 5 blades though. So yeah, it'd be good to get a more thorough review on that. It's at some point.
Yeah, well, I know Symbiose is going to be doing a review of all kinds of props and various things, and we were chit-chatting about it. So he's going to come out with something cool about props and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that for sure.
Ooh, I will do. Thanks, much appreciated.
Man.
And last question.
Mm-hmm.
Your DVR as it is right now, right? You've got 2 options. You can show it all or delete it all. Which is, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't mind showing it all. Like you're not gonna see. Like it depends on which drone you're looking at. But I just got back from overseas, and that would be my 3-inch right now. That's the one I took over to fly around and do stuff. Because it's quite a diverse platform. And I got some good shots, nothing too crazy. There was some stuff I wanted to do, but the area I was not able to really, I didn't have the opportunity to send it, unfortunately. But I had stopped over in America and got to send it there, so that video is up. So you're just going to see basically more or less what I've thrown up already, so go for it. Go. Do you want me to plug it in?
No. All good. Nah, makes sense. Hey, you never know. I think for me personally, I've been, because I've not a mistake, but actually I've never, the SD card that's in my Sky Zones, I haven't like wiped it at all since I started. So literally, so from my first recorded flight to what I recorded last night, everything is on there. And
wow.
That's
a lot. That's a lot.
Oh yeah, it's funny because it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to only take like a 64 gigabyte SD card, but I put like a 128 in there, and it keeps telling me that the space left is 99 gigabytes. So I'm like, let's just fill it up.
Yeah,
but it's there's some stuff in there that I would definitely get in trouble if somebody else saw. So I might have to consider wiping mine. But then risking losing all of my awesome stuff, and that's the thing. But it is what it is.
I love where I've flown. So when I was detained, they asked me to delete the footage, and that's the out of spite, I wanted to keep it. It's like, but you don't see anything there, so there's nothing really, like, it was a really lazy flight. It was just basically back forth and test the GPS return to home, and that's it, so there's nothing like magical. I didn't do any amazing orbits or like inverted things, so it's pretty boring. But
yeah,
but if you were to look at it, you'd probably see a flight or two that you'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, fair enough. No, good stuff. Well, that pretty much wraps up all of the questions that we had planned. It's been really good talking to you and just sort of getting your perspective and your stories on FPV. I think it's
a real pleasure.
Definitely the best thing about this hobby is the community, to be honest, and so many interesting, unique people and perspectives. So I definitely appreciate you coming on and taking some time out of your Saturday, no less, to sit here and chat with me. So much appreciated.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been real, man. Like that's what it's all about.